Jefferson once said, all tyranny needs is to remain silent. Don't remain. You've just jumped into the Pickle Barrel with author, speaker, commentator, and show host, Bill Pickle.
Good morning, good morning. You're in the Pickle Barrel. This is Bill Pickle. Glad to have you here this morning. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Of course, we did have some bad thunderstorms that came rolling through here last night. Well, I say last night. It started about 5:30 and lasted for 2 or 3 hours. And I mean to tell you, I got water standing where even during the hurricane that we had a year ago almost, that water wasn't standing. And I mean, it ran off quick. There was wind blowing. There was tree limbs falling. I got another trailer worth of limbs to pick up out of the yard. Oh, no rest for the weary, is there? No rest for the weary. Well, I'll tell you what, there's no rest for us either. And you and the rest of you. I am hot. And the morning goes, I get hotter. And I mean to tell you, there's a lot of stuff going on out there, and I just don't know who all to blame. You know, I guess number one person to blame would be me for putting up with it and participating in it. But I love the game of politics. I love working with people. I love talking with people. I love laughing with people. I love arguing with people. It's all part of the game, isn't it? Well, we're going to be doing a lot of that this morning here in the Pickle Barrel, and I don't know who's going to escape the venom that I'm going to be spouting out, but guess what? I am ready to go. Don't I look mean? Let me work on that mean face. I can't do it. I look like too much of a clown. Oh, well, okay. Anyway, glad to have you here in the Pickle Barrel this morning. I'm serious now. We do have a lot to talk about, and we are going to be taking some hits on some people because I just don't understand where and how they come about the things that they're talking about. And it just kind of aggravates me that no matter what you do or what you say, everybody has an opinion, and none of them want to agree with what you got to say. That's just the name of it. That's just the name of it. And so, you know, that's the way it goes. But you know what? That is part of this magnificent game we play in the realm of politics. Okay, good morning again. Glad to have all of you here this morning. I hope you will participate in the conversation if you'd like to do that. Obviously, you got the chat room at the AmericanPatriotRadio.com site. You've got the site right here. You can make them live right here on Facebook Live. Or even better yet, you can call in. And I do hope you do that. We do love our conversations. And sometimes we get 2, 3. You know, we've had as many as 4 in at one time. And we've had some good conversations in the past. And I want y'all to jump in here and let's start a new future with your voice being heard around the world. Isn't it? Doesn't that sound good? Have your voice heard around the world. If you would like to do that, 712, that's the area code, 712-770-4160. Then you're going to put in the magic pin number 263151#. Now then, you can sit there and listen until you get ready to answer something or jump in the conversation. At least you'll be in the queue. And then if you decide you want to jump in, just hit *6, and there you'll be, right there, having a conversation, you and me. That rhymed, didn't it? There you will be, and we'll be talking, you and me. Our poet and didn't know it. All right, let's get started here. Okay, you know, this day in history, I still like to do that. I know some people say, well, what difference does history make? I mean, I won't listen to that bull. Well, history's important, folks, because believe it or not, we've been where we've, you know, may not be us exactly, but there's been other people around this world that's been exactly where we are and where we're headed. And the results weren't all that pretty. Now then, we've got enough history under our belt now that we are at the point we are repeating history. And we'll see how that works here in just a minute. But right now, we're going to go and see what has happened this day before us. All right. 1844, Brigham Young is chosen to head the Mormon Church, succeeding Joseph Smith. In 1863, Confederate President Jefferson Davis refuses General Robert E. Lee's resignation. Thomas Edison patents the mimeograph in 1876. The first household refrigerating machine, aka refrigerator, was patented in 1899. In 1925, the first National Congress of the KKK opens, the Ku Klux Klan, a name that will always live in infamy. In 1937, the Japanese army occupies Beijing. The Luftwaffe attacks Great Britain for the first time, beginning the Battle of Britain in 1940. Guadalcanal, one of the major, nastiest, most costly in life battles in warfare, modern warfare. Guadalcanal, 1942, the Marines captured the Japanese airstrip on Guadalcanal. You know, I've had people still to this day don't understand the importance of Guadalcanal, you know, as a jumping off point. Planes could land there, refuel, do what they need to do, take off again, go on the further distances. And that was a very crucial island, and we paid dearly for that. Same thing with Marianas Islands. The U.S. completed capture of the Marianas Islands in 1944 on this date. Let's see here. Richard Nixon. I tell you what, there's a good one right there. We're going to talk about that one just a minute. Richard Nixon resigns from the presidency as a result of Watergate scandal. And we'll be back to that one. I want to share some words about that. In 1978, Pioneer Venus 2 is launched to probe the atmosphere of Venus. 1979, Saddam Hussein, Iraq's president, executed 22 political opponents. Now, that's how you get rid of them, folks. You don't talk about them bad on Twitter. You don't talk about bad in the press. You just line them up and shoot them. Line them up and hang them. That's the way you keep their mouth shut. You know? And look at here. I got a big neck. You'll need to have a big rope, okay? So if you want one, you better find you a big noose because I got a big neck. Of course, I have lost some weight. You know, it was 19 inch. I don't know what it is now. I think it's probably back down to 17. I've got some loose skin there. Anyway, that's a different story. 1988, Angola, Cuba, South Africa signed a ceasefire treaty in the border war that began in 1966. 22-year war. 1989, Space Shuttle Columbia begins its 8th flight, NASA's 30th shuttle mission. Confederate submarine, 2000. In the year 2000. Watched it live on the news right here in South Carolina as they brought her up. The Confederate submarine H.L. Hunley is raised to the service 136 years after it sank following its successful attack on the USS Housatonic in the outer harbor of Charleston, South Carolina. First ship sunk by submarine. 2007, the F2 tornado hits Brooklyn, New York, the first in the boroughs since 1889. So much for that party history. Let's see some of the famous people born on this day. Arthur Goldberg, labor lawyer, instrumental in merging of the American Federation of Labor and Congress of Interindustrial Organizations, AFL-CIO, folks. Dustin Hoffman, actor, was born on this day. A lot of things happened on this day in history. Well, I tell you what, let's talk about the one I want to talk about just a second. Nixon. It was on this day that Nixon turned in or announced that he intended to resign. You know, this is right in the middle of the Watergate scandal. He televised this the evening 1974. He announced his intention to become the first president in history to resign from office. Now, a lot of people are saying, well, we got another president that's going to be doing that. I don't think so, folks. He might, but I don't think so. I think he's a bigger man than that. Nixon addressed the nation precisely 6 years after accepting the Republican presidential nomination for the second time and going on to barely beat Hubert Humphrey that November. In resigning, Nixon bowed to congressional pressure. You know, there was just as much pressure put on him as they are putting on Trump right now. And Trump ain't even been in there for a whole year yet. Can you believe it? Yeah, I can. I absolutely can anymore. I can believe it. Yeah, I can. But he did bow to the pressure to leave the White House or face impeachment proceedings. You know, those words are being thrown around right now about Trump. The Democrats control the House. They're trying to get rid of his role in the Watergate scandal, followed by a near certain conviction by the Senate. So he gave in. He said, by taking this action, as he was speaking from the White House, the Oval Office, I hope that I will have hastened the start of the process of healing, which is so desperately needed in America. Those words sound familiar. I think those words sound very familiar. We need some healing in this country, folks. We need some healing. Now then, Neil in the chat room. Good morning, Neil, our first participant this morning. Says, huge difference. There was a crime of the break-in to start with. This one, they have accusations first, find crime later. Maybe. Yeah, maybe. I don't think there's been any crime committed, Neil. I'll be honest with you. I do not think there is. But, you know, again, we are sitting on the outside. We are privy to only what we see, hear, read. And, you know, we're not privy to all the insider information. And what we call today insider information, you can't take it to the bank. There's so much false crap put out there. No one knows what's true, what's not. I mean, even when our president talks and he uses his Twitter account, people don't realize, and sometimes I find it difficult to understand what may be true or what might not be. There's so much yik-yak going on. You know, you don't know what to take as a slap in the face someone or something that is actually true and important. It's just difficult to tell. Well, anyway, as for his critics, Nixon said this. He said in his address, he said, I leave with no bitterness toward those who have opposed me. And then he went on, he called for Americans to join together. I remember watching this when he said it. It was just like, wow, is this actually taking place? And when Nixon's talking, it's hard to know, or it's not hard to know it's him for sure, because no one else looked like Richard Nixon. Nobody. He said, I hope to join together in helping our new president succeed. You know, Nixon said that he had thought a long while about his duty to persevere in the office and whether to hang in there or let it go. You know, if you ever read any of his things, you know, he had some pretty good books in there that he had participated in and wrote. And but shortly before noon on the following day, Nixon ended his presidency, his term in office, 37th president, by writing a formal note of resignation to Henry Kissinger, the Secretary of State, as mandated by the Constitution. You know, before he and his family walked out and got on the helicopter to leave the White House, there on the White House lawn. You've seen it many times how they do that. You know, they're out there saluting. The president salutes back. Well, most of them salute back. And there's one in particular that didn't do it several times, but that's different history too. You know, Nixon smiled and raised his arms in what might have been a victory or a peace salute. And he raised them both. I mean, just like a field goal or a touchdown. Bam! You know, and I think he left in peace within himself. I really do. I think he said, I did what I think I needed to do. I messed up, yes, but guess what? I'm out of here. I was president. I'm gone. And I'm happy. And you know something? I would not be a bit surprised. I'm going to say it. I would not be a bit surprised if we see President Trump maybe not resign in the middle of the term, but I would not be surprised that he does not seek re-election. You know, I've been saying this for a long time, and I even believe it more now than I did before. You know, they don't waste no time on these type of things. When one president's gone, another one steps in. Gerald Ford was sworn in within minutes in the East Room of the White House. After taking the oath of office, Ford declared that he was also televised. You know, that was the big thing. You know, it was really getting started there, you know, right after JFK. You know, it really started big. You know, Ford declared in a televised address to my fellow Americans, our long national nightmare is over. Our long national nightmare is over. I wonder what President Trump will say when and if he decides not to rerun for a second term. Not to run for a second term. I wonder what he will say if all of this gets so bad that some of the things that are going on we find out are not exactly what we would hope they would be. And there's speculation all over the place this is going to take place. Folks, I'm not the first one to bring this topic up. I'm not the first one to bring this topic up, and I hope it don't work out this way. I sincerely hope it doesn't work out this way. I wish President Trump all the luck in the world. There's nothing more I would like to see than see President Trump bring this country together. There's going to have to be some turns along the road there for him to be able to do that, though. You know, we got so much hate and animosity between the different parties, especially between the Democrats and Republicans. We got so much animosity, and I'm starting to believe hate within the GOP party itself towards certain factions, certain members of the party, certain members of leadership around the country, including the president. You know, I hope that we can bear up to all of this, get our act together, and see a more solidified, working together conservative party than we have. We must have this. We must have, if we want the conservative party, the conservative agenda, to continue being a successful partnership, a successful endeavor, folks, got to learn to work together, got to learn to communicate, got to learn it's more about the nation than it is individual. It's not about your job or you as an individual that holds the Senate. It's about the people you represent and the Constitution you have sworn to uphold. And I beg everybody within the Conservative Party, in the Liberal Party, all of you, stop and look at what you're doing, what you're saying. Look at it realistically from the outside. May not even hurt with you. It may not hurt you to deliberately set up a town hall meeting with those that you know don't really care a whole lot about you. And listen to them. Listen to them. And then see if you can answer their issues, their questions. Wouldn't that be a novel idea? Hey, this going out to all of those that's within the party that do not like me. Do not like me. I want to invite you and only you to a forum, a sit-down, heart-to-heart chat at such and such location. I need to know, I want to know exactly what it is you do not like. I want to know, I need to know what I need to do to show you that I really care and I want to do what right by those who elected me in office. You know, that is a novel idea. I think that is like wishing I could win the $500 million lottery. It'll probably happen the same day. If you remember correctly, it wasn't just a few days later that Ford pardoned Nixon for any crimes that he may have committed, which he got a lot of heat about that. But you know what? I don't have any problem with it. I think it was a noble gesture. I don't think that anything would ever come out of it anyway. By the time anybody tried to go to court and spend millions of dollars on it, or anything else, and all the bad publicity and everything that would have taken place, his age and all that, I don't see where it benefited anybody to go anywhere with it. So I was always one that thought Gerald Ford did the right thing. I heard some noise. Somebody coming in? Okay. I think that I think the right thing was done. I think the right thing was done. Okay, moving on some other things here real quick. Let me check the chat room, see what's going on. And see a, looks like a donkey with prosecutors written on it. Sniff, sniff, sniff. Mueller Special Counsel. That's a cute cartoon. Thank you, Neil, for sharing that. Okay, now, as I said, I'm after everybody, okay? No holds barred today. If you haven't seen it, you need to go read it. Matter of fact, I might just share it with you here in a minute. President's message. President sent out can you believe he was on Twitter? The man loves novelty in video, his technology, doesn't he? He was on Twitter, this time going after Dick Blumenthal. At Real Donald Trump. If you don't realize this, at Real Donald Trump is really Donald Trump. And at 4:48 p.m. You notice that time, 4:48 p.m.? It wasn't at 4:48 a.m. He stayed up late last night. I think Senator Blumenthal should take a nice long vacation in Vietnam, or Vietnam, depending on what part of the country you're from, where he lied about his service so he can at least say he was there at 4:39 p.m. he said. How much longer will the failing New York Times, with its big losses and massive unfunded liability and not existing sources, remain in with big business? At 4:15 p.m., now we're going backwards here on purpose, the fake news media will not talk about the importance of the United Nations Security Council 15-0 vote in favor of sanctions on North Vietnam. Okay. North Korea says it would use nukes only against the U.S. They threatened it will use its nuclear weapons against the U.S. if provoked militarily. All right. Now, Ben Otto, Jack Maxwell, Watts, in Manila, and Farnez, Fashi at the United Nations, defying pressure from new United Nations sanctions. North Korea threatened to use nuclear weapons against the United States if militarily provoked, and said it would under no circumstance negotiate on its nuclear and missile weapons programs. All right, they're making it quite clear there. They're not going to back off. I say they make it quite clear. I've known a lot of people have made it quite clear before, back off. So let's just say they're saying it at this point, okay? North Korean Foreign Minister Ri Yong-ho on Monday delivered the strongly worded statement to the reporters on the sidelines of the Asian Regional Security Conference, hours after U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson vowed to implement the stiffest sanctions yet imposed on that regime. You know, it's unreal. Unreal. North Korean statements rejected assertions by Security Council members that North Korea's military program constituted a global threat, and they're trying to, now time out here. They said all along that they are wanting to build missiles that will go to our homeland on the West Coast, hit American territories. You know, Hawaii, the West Coast, you know, California, Oregon, you know, that side of the country. For those of you who don't know directions. They're saying they want to do that. But yet they're saying they don't have any plans on doing that. Don't have nothing, you know, no intention of doing that. Then why in the HELL are you doing it? Why are you trying to lambast the newsways, the propaganda that you're trying to build these missiles and you're obviously testing them, but you have no intentions of using them? It can't be for self-defense. I don't think the United States and our allies would really want to invade you for any reason. I mean, I think most of our countries and our country and our allies have enough of the impoverished and uneducated poverty levels that we can stand without taking on your country with even more. Just a thought there. You know, if the United States attacks North Korea, oh, Lordy. They're saying the country is ready to teach the U.S. a severe lesson with its nuclear strategic force. All right, now, you know, it's like taking this ink pen here and kind of sticking it in somebody's side when you're making, you know, you're prodding them when you're making comments like that, you know. It'd be unwise conduct of the U.S. will only speed up its own extinction. That's what the statement said that came from them later, adding that the U.S. was getting more frenzied and desperate instead of learning to coexist with the country. Folks, I may be taking this out of context. The picture tells, how they say, a picture tells 1,000 words. How many pictures and videos have we seen of North Korea testing these missiles? I mean, they've made it very prevalent. They have thrown it out there to show us that they're doing it, to show us that they're trying to improve the distance and accuracy of their missiles. And by gosh, they're showing us that they have. They have improved. But yet, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. All right. Now then, Blumenthal. These things went on for hours. It started yesterday afternoon, went on. Maybe they do seem completely and utterly irrelevant in comparison to North Korea threatening to start a nuclear war with us. Okay? Maybe so. Maybe when political pundits, the media, yours truly, and different operatives were looking at John Kelly and other staff members to set a new note in the White House, new tone in the White House, what were we looking for? What were we hoping for? Sometimes I think it's very unclear. I think it's very unclear what we are looking for. And I don't know if people are just chasing their tails, or if they're just digging and digging and digging and digging, hoping to find something that can be used against the president. But I think that these people that keep doing this need to find other things to do, like supporting the president. He's got some pretty darn good initiatives out there, folks. I guess by supporting them, though, you would not have the garbage that you want to bring up to get you the ratings you need to make dollars for your outfit. I think that Neil says here, Bloomy has been attaching and distorting facts about the unbiased Red Scourge investigation for a while. Neil, yes, he has. I have to admit, yes, he has. But guess what? I think that perhaps, just perhaps, Republicans have done the same thing in various times in history. I think they have probably done just as badly as Blumenthal's doing. Now, here's a gig at the president, folks. I've got to do it. I got to do it. I have to do it. I believe it's necessary to do it. President Trump may have made some changes in his staff. He has made some big changes. I can't say it the way he does, but huge changes. He's made some huge changes. John Kelly is one of them. But you know what? No matter what his people say, and who knows for sure what they're telling him? Everything we get out of there is hearsay. But only one person controls Donald Trump, and that's Donald Trump. Only one person controls how he uses Twitter, and that's Donald Trump. Like it or not, he's the man when it comes to his publicity, his Twitter account, and all of that. Nobody else is. When the real Donald Trump is out there, it's the real Donald Trump speaking. And what scares the bejesus out of me is perhaps that is really the real Donald Trump. You know? Just perhaps that is the real Donald Trump. Folks, if that is the real Donald Trump, we're in for one hell of a ride. One heck of a ride. The good, bad, and the ugly is what you've got with Donald Trump. Now, people talk about his strategy, what he's trying to do. You know, let's face it. Trump, at this point in the game, I hate to say this, but I really do think that he may have no blinders on to certain things. I know he knows there's things we've got to do. It's got to get done. But I do think he's got blinders on when it comes to his communication in the media and the land of social media. I think he wants to appeal to a certain group of people, and that's those that you have no other way to call them but his comrades, his loyalties, his butt kissers, his foot kissers, whatever you want to call it. Those are the people he's catering to. And why do you think he keeps making these political campaign style stops everywhere? To keep that segment of the society up in anger, up in arms, maybe not physically, but some of them are. But he's got to keep them screaming and hollering, to put it simply, countrified. They got to keep them squealing and hollering. And they're doing it. They're doing it. He's keeping them. He's out there re-energizing them on a steady, regular basis. And, no matter how much White House officials have been urging him to work on the bills, the instruments at hand that need to be, work on the efforts of immigration and the other things that he has said to do, people there need his support. They need to know he's really in this, that he's not just a bag of wind. Now, I don't know how many times yesterday, literally, folks, I'm no exaggeration, I get hundreds of messages every day. And I guarantee you a third of those is asking, why is Trump doing this? Why is Trump doing that? But I have no answers other than he's Donald Trump. He does what he wants to do. However, and I'm not going to say this is the cause, this is the purpose. I'm going to throw it out there, though. What if his purpose, and this is a question, not a statement, what if his goal is to actually split the conservative party? What if his goal is to split the conservative party? If it is, he's had a very successful term of office so far. Don't bash that he has not had a successful term, because if that's his goal, he has done one hell of a job. Maybe his goal is to destroy the Democrat Party. Again, he's done a pretty darn good job. Wouldn't it be something down the road we see the Trump Party? the Trumpers, the Trumpeteers, however you want to, that's a famous word now, widely used everywhere. The Trump Party, the independents that Donald Trump is. The quasi-Democrat, the quasi-conservative Trumpeteers Party. There you go. Maybe we found this. Maybe we found the goal here. I don't know. Maybe so. Well, I tell you what, no matter what it is, the press is not going to let up. Donald Trump appears not to be going to let up. And I tell you, I think all of this is just telling us just how uneasy. It's like being in an earthquake. You feel that vibration. Nothing's falling, nothing's cracking, but you feel the shaking. A few things fall off the wall, things like that. You're shaking. You get a little nervous, right? You don't know which way to go. You don't know what's going on. Maybe that's what is happening. And if it is, he is one of the most successful presidents in such a short term in office of getting his goals accomplished. He is on very shaky political ground with the Democrats. He's on very shaky ground with the conservative parties, especially the ultra-conservative. And the very middle group that makes up what should be the base. And they are, because they are the ones that actually get out there and vote most of the time. It's that 80% in the middle. We've talked about that many times. But he has got them shook up. He has got them shook up. And those ultra-conservative Republicans, they just have no idea right now what the heck to do. I believe that from the top of my head to the bottom of my big toe. They have no idea how they're going to manage Donald Trump, if he can be managed. Oh, well. But he's the man in charge. He's the president, right? He's the president. All right, let's check the chat room again. Let's see. His tweets are quite tame by Twitter standards. I think his campaign rallies are reminders to the party that there will be consequences if they go against him. Why should you care? It's just a tweet. Okay. The way it should be, I control me, expect my POTUS to do same. I could care less about the tweets. I don't chase tweets. I say that's dumb tweet, but don't get excited. Other way around, the parties are the shaky ground. They are the ones doing nothing. Some will be primaried. Neil, I can see why you say all of that. I really do. And some of it I partially agree with. But if you don't think the tweets have consequences, if you don't think some of the things he's saying has consequences, they do. And it may be because there's idiots out there like me and everybody else that read them, pay attention to them, and realize that these are feeding the vultures out there that really want to go ape, dip, dark crazy. I think maybe these are feeding those people, and that's why we got to be concerned about it. And how does our allies look at it? Well, who cares? I can hear it now. Who cares what our allies think about it? He's our president. Well, they have a lot at stake too, being our allies. They do drive a narrative. Yes, you're right. They do drive a narrative. Neil saying in the chat room, Trump's tweets drive a narrative. I think that here's what I want to say. While I believe Donald Trump is a very big part of the problem, I think the parties themselves are just as much to blame, if not more. And the reason I say that is Donald Trump would not be president. Donald Trump would not be an issue if both sides, the Democrats and the Republicans, had been doing their job all along. So if you have, you know, I'm going to sit back and say it again. I've said it more than once. I'm going to say it again. If there's anyone to blame for the Trump factor, good or bad, if there's anyone to blame for the Trump factor, it's both parties. It's both Democrat and Republican senators and congressmen and the American people. Because none of us for decades have done our job. We may have a few million people that get out there and vote and participate and do their thing, but we got multi-millions that sit on their doofus and do absolutely nothing except complain. Just my thoughts. All right. You know, I really think that you know, Monday was a prime example. You know, this was the first full day break, quote unquote, of the summer recess, vacation, whatever you want to call it. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of vacations going on. You know, he spent the whole day Monday out there trying to discredit mainstream news organizations. You know, one of them said, and I got it here, it says, hard to believe that the 24/7 at fake news on CNN, ABC, NBC, CBS, New York Times, and WAPO, Washington Post, the Trump base is getting stronger. It's hard for them to believe that. He tweeted that Monday morning from Bedminster, New Jersey, where he is, you know, at his golf course there for a 2-week working vacation, folks. Working vacation. Big difference between vacation, working vacation. You know, it's unreal. Unreal. You know, White House Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders said of the mainstream outlets in New York, like the New York Times and the CNN, he said they don't always get it wrong, but for every one good story we push out, there are probably 150 really bad process stories or hit pieces on the administration. We think a lot of times the stories that we push out here have been given very little coverage. Well, yeah, that's true. They no doubt about that. But that's what it is. That's what it is. And that's not going to stop, folks. I don't care how much we talk about it until we start seeing some action taking place. Some of these things that everybody's promised to do really get started. It's not going to stop. It's not going to stop. All right. I hear some. Good morning, Brian. How are you, sir? Thank you for coming in. I need a drink of some H2O.
I'm glad to be here as always. Who really cares about vacations as long as you're getting results? I mean, you know, and you know, I don't really care about that kind of stuff.
Me neither.
Trump's working harder than pretty much any president has in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's a workaholic.
He is.
For this stuff. So, you know, anybody that's going to claim that he's being lazy somehow or read anything into it is just being ridiculous.
Yeah, Brian. You know, if he wasn't the workaholic that he is, the press wouldn't have near as much to talk about, would they?
Yeah, I mean, if he was a lazy, go with the flow, establishment, you know, weak-minded person, then they'd love him. But they don't like him because he doesn't go with the program.
Mm-hmm. He
goes against the grain. And unfortunately, a lot of the media, which is supposed to be the watchdog, they're just a bunch of prostitutes. So what can you do?
Mm-hmm. You know, I want to step in here, Brian, and just say one thing, folks. Listen, not all media folks are bad. There are those out there, a good number of them, more than the bad ones, that want to do honest reporting. And they do honest reporting. The only problem, Oh, yeah, I understand what you're saying. The only problem is, you know, social media, the press, talking about the other press, do not cater to or put out or give exposure to the real news. I think we have gotten to the point where the American people are fixated. They're hooked. They're addicted. They feed themselves off of the rubbish that is out there. And they have made it more or less a parlor game that they play every friggin' day to get out there and look at it. And after a while, you start believing that crap. Brian, you know,
There's exceptions to that, Bill.
There are exceptions.
Yesterday, there's a guy, Mike Cernovich, on Twitter. Granted, he's a Trump guy, but this guy breaks more news than anybody, than MSNBC, CNN, New York Times, Washington Post, Fox News combined.
Yeah.
I mean, he gets inside stories and scoops like nobody I've ever seen. So I go to I'll read his Twitter page a couple times a day because he'll say something's going to happen, and then a few weeks later, it usually does. He's got a better batting average than anybody I've seen. And even though he's a Trump guy, he'll criticize Trump where he disagrees with him. He's not a bootlicker.
Brian, if you would, why don't you share the link to his site with everybody so we can share that so more people will be able to recognize that name and where to go?
Well, I don't. It's just he's on Twitter. You just do a Google search for Mike Cernovich.
Okay.
C as in Cardinal, and he's just on Twitter. I'm not even on Twitter, but you can read people's Twitter pages. Right.
On
Twitter. So, but I mean, he breaks more news than just about anybody I've ever seen, and he's been doing a yeoman's work on the whole, McMaster thing that's been going on. So he really gives you a lot of valuable insights and news. Clearly, he has a lot of sources in the White House or close to the president and everywhere else. So I find that I would get more value and more inside scoops and news reading him than watching anybody else on TV or in the print media. I mean, he breaks news. And he was on top of the Red Freedom thing before it happened.
Right.
The airstrike in Syria, he had that 24 hours before anybody else had it. I mean, it's amazing. So there are exceptions, and you're on. The thing is, anybody can write anything they want on Twitter, good or bad.
Right.
You get bad, but also, you're not working for somebody else who's going to censor you or tell you what it is you're supposed to write. So it goes both ways.
True, it does. It does, and I am vehemently against anybody that is trying to put the media on a watch list. Okay, the media needs to police itself.
They don't.
Well, some of them do, Brian, and there's organizations like Society of Professional Journalism. Every day they're putting stuff out there, and they are standing up to the courts for freedom of the press, the right to free speech, and all this. And they are begging their members not to participate in the fake news growth pattern, to do investigations, to report the truth without commentary. And you don't find too many of them do that anymore. I'm sorry?
And look at it this way. Take the New York Times, for example, it's owned by Carlos Slim, International, which I don't understand how somebody from a foreign country should be able to own, a newspaper or buy into American media. But he's a big supporter of open borders.
Right.
So when was the last time you saw an article in the New York Times that was critical of illegal immigration or presented facts about illegal immigration?
Isn't it amazing how that happens?
But I mean, that's just the New York Times. Washington Post is owned by Bezos. Bezos is going to be a trillionaire soon. Do you think they're ever going to have an article in the Washington Post written that says anything about how that the merger with Whole Foods is a bad idea?
Hey, Brian,
critical of Amazon?
Would you write an article about your employer, telling how bad he is?
Well, I work for myself. But,
Oh, okay. You okay? Well, Brian, Brian, I'm writing this to you. You are one sorry businessman. I'm joking, just joking. Huh?
I get what you're saying, but if that's how things are going to be, then the media can't, say that they're an
Yeah.
honest watchdog
Yeah.
if they're biased. And clearly, if Bezos hates Trump, and they put articles, some of the terrible articles they put up, like when Hillary Clinton fainted, and they had that doctor that did all that research on concussions write an article saying that he wouldn't rule out the possibility that it was caused by either Putin or Trump.
Right.
And they put that as an article as if like that's something credible. And I'm sure if you look at the Washington Post, I'm sure 98% of what's written there has a very negative slant on the president, and that everything's an editorial in that newspaper. So, okay, fine, yeah, you're not going to anything negative about your employer, but I mean, come on, the bias is it's astounding.
It is.
Look at the whole thing with the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Here's another example. Okay, nothing to do with an individual or the individual that owns these media empires, but did anybody in the establishment media, Republican or Democrat, really do any real research on the Trans-Pacific Partnership, what it was, why it was so secret, why the contents of the bill weren't allowed to be released to the public, why anybody from Congress that read the bill wasn't allowed to talk about publicly what was in the bill, and was there any critical press for the Trans-Pacific Partnership or any investigative research from the establishment media? None, zero, zip.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
This is why with people like me, we despise the mainstream media and call them prostitutes, because they don't do research. They're not watchdogs.
Yeah. Well, Neil put something in the chat room, which is so true. And I hit on this a little bit, and just one or two words yesterday, and I probably should have done more. The media really hit Trump by going to his present location to work, a working vacation. And, it was just another long 2-week golf outing, is more or less what the press had put out. Well, they really are. I looked it up. Neil, I thank you for bringing this up, because I do want to address this real quick as part of this, this media jargon that's going on. I looked it up. I looked it up on a lot of different locations. I talked to some people. Yes, they verified. Yes, there's major work being done throughout the building. So, to me, it would make sense. I've had work done on my house, not this one, but, years ago, I had so much work done on the inside of my house that I actually went and spent a couple of nights in a motel. They said that, we've got different crews working different places, and, it would be good, and it would be a lot less bothersome to you and your family if we could work, different times, so, the different crews could come in here instead of, wasting time. You know what I'm talking about, make better use of their time. And so we went and spent 2-3 nights in a motel. And we were happy to get home and walk into a house that looked so good, and I didn't have to do it. So, let's face it, even this little story was blown completely out of proportion. It's unreal. It's unreal.
Well, or how about the big thing? That huge story with the chairman of the DNC, former chairman Watson Schultz.
Mm-hmm.
Her IT guy cleaned the country with cash. She's been under investigation for stealing materials from other congressmen.
Yeah.
How much coverage did that get in the establishment media?
Well, how much do you remember? How much do you remember hearing about it?
Very little, except on the terrible internet and Twitter, which people hate. But I'll tell you what, again, it's not. I'm not just repeating some line because somebody else said it and it sounds cool. It's just you see these major things happening and they get no critical press. The whole thing with Loretta Lynch now that came out yesterday. Mm-hmm. It's like the establishment media treats it as if it's the tree falling in the forest.
Right.
Nobody's around. So, it's not. Look, sorry, but the reputation they get, it's richly deserved. And it's
Yeah.
not just a bunch of uninformed people
Oh,
parroting what somebody else says.
no. I agree. You know, give you an example, Brian. You know, I tell you what, Brian, we got to go to break. It's top of the hour. I'm sorry, I'm getting a signal here. Brian, don't run off. If you got time, hold on, guy. I'd like to talk to you some more about this. All right, folks. So listen, we get to the top of the hour. We need to take a break. We'll be right back here in the Pickle Barrel where we'll continue the discussion. Don't run off. We'll be right back. Good morning, and welcome back. You're in the Pickle Barrel. Glad to have you here with us this morning. Boy, do we have some discussions going on this morning. Yours truly is on a rampage and having no mercy on anybody. So if you're in that state of mind, you know, that state of mind that so many people are here, join us in the Pickle Barrel and share your thoughts and your anger. This is Angry Day, I guess, in the Pickle Barrel. If you'd like to call in, 712-770-4160. Put in the magic pin number 263151. You'll be in here, and then when you get ready to talk, just hit *6, and you'll be in the chat room with us, or live chatting on the air. We do have chat room on AmericanPatriot.com, also at the Facebook Live site. So we got room for you everywhere you want to go. We got Brian from Pennsylvania on the line right now. We're having a little discussion about the media. Can you imagine the media talking about the media? Yeah, I'm talking about the media this morning, good, bad, and the ugly, and we got a bunch of all of it. And so let's just continue. Brian, I appreciate you holding there, guy, as we went to break. You know, we do have to give everybody a chance to do what they need to do and all that. But anyway, all right, Brian, so pick up where you left off when I cut you off. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, I think the reputation they get is richly deserved. That doesn't mean every bit of the media, but certainly the establishment media. I'm just giving you some examples. Another example, unquestionably, this is the biggest one, is the treatment and demonization of Russia.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you get more favorable coverage in the media of any other country, including Saudi Arabia, than you get of Putin and Russia. And I would venture to guess you had more favorable articles written about Russia when they were the Soviet Union, even when they had Stalin.
Mm-hmm.
But it just goes to show you, I mean, in my opinion, and I think it's backed up by fact, not opinion, that the media is just horrendous right now. It's horrendous. They're horrendously bad. The establishment media. I mean, they make no effort whatsoever to give you all sides of the story. The investigative journalism does not exist.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean,
you know why?
Sorry.
Do you know why?
Richly deserved. Why, Bill?
Why the investigative reporters no longer exist?
Probably because of financial concerns.
Exactly. I remember in the newspaper when we had some investigative type people resign, quit, bought out, paid off, whatever you want to call it. And it was a budgetary matter. Plus, it's hard to find individuals. Now, you know, a part of this is because of our society too, Brian. You know, we got people now that they'll go to a newspaper or any job. They'll work until they get a experience and contacts, and then they'll move on to another paper or media. And, you know, that's the way it is. But if you look at the newspapers now, just look at your local newspapers in particular, and look at your news and weather staff on TV now. Most of them are young guns. When I say young guns, I'm talking about in their 30s and maybe late 20s, with very, very, very little experience, especially your weekend staff. You know, they're there reading scripts. I mean, you know, and, you know, these people haven't got the experience or the knowledge to go out and do or the contacts to do in-depth investigative reporting. And so when you get inside your local papers, unless you're in a big community like New York, Dallas, San Francisco, you know, the larger communities, you have a very limited number of experienced people with contacts they can do that kind of work. And so, you know, like it or not, the newspapers have hurt themselves in that aspect.
Well, that might explain something, but whether or not you have a lot of experience in a big budget doesn't explain the fact that, you know, whether these people have experience or not, that you wouldn't look at it and say, you know what, we just had our 5,000th article about how Putin's the Antichrist and how horrible Russia is. You know, maybe for the sake of perspective and getting all sides of the argument, we'll write an article that gives you a different point of view. Now, look, I took communications in college.
Right.
Okay? I'm not a rocket scientist. But one of the things I learned in college was, I learned about the media and about, you know, journalism and how you're supposed to do your job. And I thought it was about getting the facts, presenting all sides of the argument. Now, I learned that in college. I don't think you have to have 20 years on the job to figure that out.
No.
These people are 25 and just fresh out of 23 or whatever, fresh out of college. I mean, how do you not look at it and say, you know what? Every article that we've ever had in our newspaper is favorable towards open borders. You know what? In the interest of presenting all sides of the argument, maybe we should write a few articles that present the other side of the argument. You know, or any number of issues.
Yeah.
That's my problem. When you this plan, and when they, you know, and by the way, again, you don't have to have an unlimited budget or a lot of experience to realize that if you're only presenting one side of the argument, you know, you may be missing a lot of important things.
Of course you are.
And
of course you are.
Whether it's the newspaper you're on or the editors, if only one side's being presented, if you're getting an accurate accounting of what's really going on, or if there's a bias or prejudice at work.
Yeah.
So I don't think that requires a big budget. I don't think that requires a lot of experience. But I think what it requires is honesty, integrity.
Well, you know, Brian, you know, one thing, you know, we have a very small, and it's getting smaller by the day, newspaper here in our hometown. Okay. Some days, I don't even know why they're publishing it now, but anyway, they promise they're going to continue being a weekly paper, although some of the days of the week, there's nothing in there really to look at. But anyway, the bottom line, and I love it, and I'm an ex-employee there, so, you know, hey, I love it, and I still take it. But I remember and enjoyed the days, even when I was with the Dallas Times-Herald and the Dallas Morning News. I mean, you know, they had millions of people getting the paper on Sunday in particular, hundreds of thousands daily. But I remember the days when even in Dallas, I mean, we're talking about a red state, you know, Texas, but, you know, they would have opposing views. You know, there'd be two people that report on the same story, and then they would make commentary, and there would be this reporter making a commentary from his point of view, the other reporter making commentary on his point of view or hers, and they would be on the same page, split down the middle. Okay, so everybody could see both points of views.
Correct.
And that would be following the story that was written, which was factual, but then they talked about the good, the bad, and the ugly of what took place from their perspective. And I liked that. You got the facts, then you got the opinions right there together. How about that? Working together.
See, I don't think that requires an unlimited budget to do that.
No, it don't.
A lot of it can be done with a shoestring budget, but it requires people with integrity and honesty. I think you don't have that. I think a lot of people that go into the media, unfortunately, come into a particular agenda. They're poorly educated, and they have, you know, their idea is not to tell the truth. It's to advance a particular cause they believe in, and advance that cause by any means necessary, even if it means outright lying. And I'm sorry, but I mean, I see that in the mainstream media. I mean, just that disgraceful exchange with Acosta from CNN last week with Miller.
Yeah.
And Miller slice and dice. But just how idiotic Acosta came out with the points he was making. I mean, where do they find these people?
Yeah,
You know, but I think, again, the reputation they get is for richly deserved. I don't ever wish to see people lose their jobs, but it's hard to defend these people when you see how horrible these people are,
Mm-hmm.
and how dangerous they are in terms of in the way they try to manipulate things.
Yeah.
And also the fact that you've got them working with the Wall Street and the military-industrial complex to more or less promote a fascist coup.
Yeah.
And they outright say this on their shows. I mean, how is that journalism?
Mm-hmm. Brian, I want to switch some discussion real quick on you, because you made a comment yesterday, I believe it was, with how the U.S. was spending so many dollars on defense. And here is
when is it ever going to be enough?
Yeah, right. Well, here is a Forbes report. Okay, this came out in August, and I want to thank Neil for finding this and sending it to us. And I just went to the internet and verified it myself. I like to verify. And it's talking about the biggest military budgets as a percentage of GDP. And this is the estimated military expenditure as a percent of GDP in selected countries. And this is the end of 2014. Okay. So, this may be a couple of years old, but, it just sets the trend, right? Okay. Saudi Arabia spends 10.4% of their GDP. Okay. And then, then Israel, 5.2%, Russia, 4.5%. Then comes the United States at 3.5%. Now then, that is a full percent less than Russia and right at 7% less than Saudi Arabia. And then again, though, it is another full percent more than India, France, Turkey, United Kingdom, China. Then you get into Australia and all them, it's 1 point some odd percent. Canada, 1%. So we're in the upper third, if you want to say that, probably, as far as the countries that spend money on their defense. Thank you, Neil, for sending that in. Appreciate it.
I wonder if that's how accurate that is. That accounts for the CIA's, off the books black.
Oh, you never know. You never know, Brian.
Because here's the thing, the issue I have with that. It doesn't make sense because, how many overseas military bases do we have compared to Russia, Saudi Arabia, Israel, China, all these other countries?
Well, I guess you can say it's not what you have, it's where and how you spend it,
Yeah, but it doesn't entirely, it doesn't have that ring of truth to me.
Yeah.
And there's probably, if you included defense, whatever the budget is for the CIA, for all the private contractors overseas and everything else, I bet the real number is actually quite a bit higher.
Yeah.
I mean, something doesn't add up.
Yeah. Well, Neil, I'm sorry. Brian. Yeah, Brian, you know as well as I do, whenever you do statistics, you deal with the numbers that you're given, right? You deal with the numbers that you're given. So based on that, you get these numbers. And I mean, I'll be honest with you. I spend money my wife doesn't know I spend. I got a different account. You know what I mean? So it's not in this kind of money, though. Whoo, no, sirree. I wouldn't be here if it was this kind of money. I'd be traveling the world. But that's true. It's what you release, what you make public is what people see. And let's face it. And, I think anybody and everyone should realize there's money undercover that's gone different places. Let's just face it.
Well, I guess what I'm arguing, though, Bill, is that I think that number, it's not just a little bit of money that's not being accounted for. I bet it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And it also depends on how you calculate it. I mean, did the cost, and I'm talking about overall costs for military. Does that include people that come home and have major medical expenses, because of an injury that occurred?
Yeah. Yeah.
while they were serving. I mean, how did they come up with that number?
I don't have those figures, Brian. I'll be honest with you. This was just a little chart that was sent, and that's what I'm sharing. So, but yeah, but you're right. You're right. You know, you can talk about medical care. Let's just throw that in there on this before we move on. Medical care. You know, people don't realize how much more is spent on medical care than what the reports show. You know, you got insurance data, you got all that kind of stuff. You got federal information that's out there. But how about the money that you and I pull out of our pocket every single week that goes toward this medicine, that medicine, your regular doctor checkup, whatever, you know, having a little, rough spot burned off the top of your head or your cheek because, you know, you're getting old and crusty. You know, all that stuff adds up too, but those don't always make those reports.
Oh, Bill, hold on a second. Here's how I know that excuse my language, that report is complete bullshit or they're lying, because everything you ever read tells you that America spends significantly more money on its military budget and things related to defense than by far than Russia and China combined. I even read more than the next 11 countries combined.
Well,
People that are favorable to this. So this is how you know that that's the thing's completely misleading, because everything else you ever read says that, you know, whoever's in second place in terms of the sheer dollars spent, it's a distant second place.
Yeah.
So there's something not right about that article.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
They're either lying or misleading about something. They have to be, because
okay.
I've read many things over the years, and believe me, we spend a hell of a lot more money on our military defense than anybody else.
Yeah.
Not even close.
Well, I would venture to agree with you, but until I can prove it, you know, I can't say for sure that we're totally
Bill, how about
accurate.
Common sense? Okay. How about common sense and preponderance of evidence? We have all these overseas military bases. God knows how many of them there are, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody else does. That's got to cost a lot of money to maintain those military
Mm-hmm.
bases.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for the cost for the troops, for all the needs that they have, for the military equipment, the weapons, the food, the energy needs, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
So if we have that, and we're, you know, all these other military bases, you know, the Middle East and Europe and Asia, South Korea, South China Sea, everywhere else.
Yeah.
Nobody else has that kind of a military buildup or military bases everywhere else.
Yeah. Well, Brian, you notice that, you know, and I want to reflect back to Neil here again. He sent some more information, but I'll tell you this. Several weeks ago, I was talking about gross domestic product, GDP, and all that. So, you know, this is nothing, you know, that's new. This is something we've talked about a little bit before, but you know, this, you know, dollar spent, you know, these are dollars that are spent that we can allow for, or allocate, or we can verify based on gross domestic product. Okay. You know, as well as I know, that there are clandestine accounts out there, and anybody would be an idiot to think they're not. Okay. You know, but anytime anyone talks about spending money, I know my wife and I, we have our little tit for tats every once in a while about, you know, I want to save a little bit. She wants to spend a little bit more, but Bill, we can afford it. But what if we can't in the future? At least we'll have a saving, you know, this type of stuff, you know, just like we're talking about in the nation. But, we still spend, you know, a heck of a lot of money. You know, we're talking, you know, depending on who you talk to, is anywhere from $500 to $800-900 billion a year on military. Some of those are trying to include monies that they think are not reported. Some of them are trying to be as accurate as they can. And, you know, when you talk about billions of dollars, you know, 100 or 200 billion adds up pretty quick. So either one of these numbers could be very, very big or smaller than we think. But I am like you, my friend. I don't think it would be smaller.
Right. Well, again, I mean, the thing to me is, what's the most likely explanation? I mean, heck, we've had the whole thing about NATO, the NATO freeloaders that don't pay their share, which is probably still not nearly what it should be. And again, it's just that they're misleading, they're being misleading, either intentionally, either they're outright lying or they're just manipulating or being misleading. But no other country has anywhere near the amount of overseas military bases.
Yeah.
It costs a lot of money to maintain that.
Right.
And
okay.
No other country is involved in the amount of wars we are, and no other country has bombed as many countries as we have. Certainly in 2014, the year they were using. So,
that's why we're so good at it. We've had practice.
Yeah, but I mean, it stands to reason. If you're doing all these things that nobody else is doing, then the sheer dollar amount has to be so much more than everybody else.
Yeah. Well, yeah, okay. Or we could be pinching pennies in other parts of the arena and spending it on this part of the arena over here. You never know. You never know. But speaking of millions of dollars and things that are happening, I am very tickled to say this, but Toyota and Mazda have teamed up, and they just announced a $1.6 billion investment. They're going to build a U.S. plant here, and they're going to come up with, they're having a joint venture. The $1.6 billion plant, to be built in an unspecified U.S. location at the present time, will be opening in 2021. And they are I'm sorry? Yeah, it is. They're estimating that they're going to be putting out 300,000 vehicles a year and employ 4,000 people. Now, I tell you what, I love it. I love it.
Well, did you read the other thing the other day, too, along the same line, that Foxconn, they had the one plant in Wisconsin they're going to, it's going to be a $10 billion investment,
right?
15,000 jobs.
Right.
And then they're going to open up a second plant now in Michigan.
Now, this is all good news. I think most of us will say, man, that's a lot of income. That's going to be a lot of taxes. That's good for the state in the county that they are going to be located in. It's going to give 4,000 people a job. But at the same time, we are all out there. I say we all, generally speaking, okay, as a nation or a group of people. We are out there saying, well, we are sure getting a lot of foreign investors over here, that's sure going to have a lot of control of our economy, making billions of dollars off of us, But yet we sure like the idea they're going to be here paying those tax dollars and paying salaries, aren't we?
Well, I think it's a good looking. Look, China says to U.S. auto manufacturers, if you want to sell your cars here, you got to make them there. So we're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And if Trump's jawboning is working, and I have no doubt that this is a factor in it. So be it. This is what you want. You want the jobs. You want the jobs to come.
Well, if you remember correctly. Yeah, Brian, if you remember correctly, back in January, he singled out Toyota, threatening the company with a steeper border tax if it did not invest in U.S. production. So, folks, listen to me. Listen to me. Here's what can happen. Toyota has also announced it would invest $10 billion in U.S. operations over the next 5 years. I was saving that for last.
Protectionism works.
Yeah, I tell you what. Trump's not doing a dang thing, though, Now then, there's no telling how long this has been in.
Here's an important point. On this.
Mm-hmm.
If anybody else had become president with their free trade fundamentalism, let's take Lindsey Graham, because he's in a big war with Lindsey Graham, or Jeff Flake.
Right.
All these great free traders. Let's single out Lindsey Graham, because a lot of these automotive jobs have come to the Carolinas in the last 30 years. Reagan's import quotas on Japanese and West German vehicles. So what happened? the automakers had to start making their cars here.
Mm-hmm.
To have the same amount of marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Trump threatening, tariffs, steep tariffs or border taxes on foreign automakers if they don't make more of their stuff here. So what happens? They make it here. It's more jobs for the Carolinas. So, I mean, Lindsey Graham's own state and just the automakers that have come to South Carolina contradict his free trade fundamentalism.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, if it's up to Lindsey Graham, okay, the jobs are here, but we'll have an unlimited flood of, guest workers to take all the jobs that should be taken by Americans. But it's a separate issue. But it proves once again, protectionism works. You know what? Protectionism is just the way the world works.
Well, also, I'm going to use Lindsey Graham for an example since I know him so well. He preaches what you said all the time. But at the same time, just the other day on national news, he says, but it doesn't really matter on some things what I want or what I believe. I've served the people of my state.
So the people in his state want more war with Russia.
No, they want 4,000 new. They want 4,000 new jobs and the tax dollars that's coming from those companies.
So you mean they didn't want the Trans-Pacific Partnership to be supported?
I can't tell you that. I don't know.
I mean, come on now. I mean, it's funny. Any politician from South Carolina that claims to be a free trader. So, the facts show that protectionism has helped South Carolina enormously. And it ain't just the automotive industry.
No, it's not. And if it wasn't for that, we're still considered one of the poorest states in some aspects. But if it wasn't for that, we'd be the rock bottom. We'd be the swamp. I mean, the real swamp.
If South Carolina in some way still is one of the poorest states, how can it be justified that somebody like Lindsey Graham, who wants basically no limits on immigration whatsoever, if South Carolina is one of the poorest states? Because if they're one of the poorest states, it must mean there's a lot of poor people that could probably do better if they were making more money at the job they would have. So if you have Brian,
you're trying to get me angry. You're trying to get me angry. And
I'm trying to make sense of it.
Because we got so many damn people here in South Carolina that won't get off their butt and go to work. Because our education system here is so god dang bad, people don't graduate with a decent education. 1/3 of the people that graduate from high school cannot read on an 8th grade level. When people are in the 8th grade can't read on a 3rd grade level, they're not going to be able to take the jobs that are needed to fulfill the jobs that these companies are bringing. And god dang it, it hurts me, it kills me to say it. I'm sorry, sir.
Not even a factory job?
Well, even factories jobs today, you got to have a little bit of education because you got so much technology and everything involved in them. It's not where everybody just gets a screwdriver or a wrench and goes screws them anymore.
Well, something doesn't add up because usually the way things work is that there's a shortage of qualified labor.
All right, here's the situation. Here's the situation.
Yeah.
We got a large number of our population that graduate, okay?
Right.
They move on. They don't stay in South Carolina. They move on to bigger and better things. And, it hates for me to tell you that, but, I know too many people that have kids that graduated from darn good schools that don't live in this state. Hey, you're looking at some right here. We've got a son that works in Florida, he's doing a job that he'd be qualified for here, but making a hell of a lot more in Florida doing it. And,
So you're making my point, Bill.
Yeah.
I mean, you're making my point. If you can make a hell of a lot more money doing it in Florida, and you're not opposed to moving, why wouldn't you go there?
Exactly.
If the job in South Carolina, if you can do comparable work in South Carolina and make comparable money when you factor in cost of living, then, it might be incentive for him to stay. But again, the problem that I have with this whole any willing worker thing or, jobs Americans do is it's usually they don't complete the sentence. The jobs Americans won't do is the wages offered. My experience in life has been the way Americans are. You offer enough money, you will find enough willing workers.
Yeah. Well, Brian, let me. Okay.
Especially, and I can speak to some knowledge of what you're talking about because my father's side of the family in upstate PA, and they would have the same problem for years where they would have the kids that would get a good education and leave. But the thing is, there weren't jobs there that would make them want to stay. But if you get, like, for example,
but there's more to it than just that, Brian. There's more to it than just the job. You know, when you have a school system, education system as bad as ours, and people from the SC, I am sorry for speaking out about this, but it's true. It's true. We have one of the worst education systems in the entire country. And no matter where you go to look, you find this is true. And, a lot of them don't want their kids going to public school here in South Carolina. They don't want them going to school here, and they want more for their kids. And, there's ways to get around it. But, for instance, we have a state charter school district, separate from the public school district. And legislators and local politicians fight against it every day of the week when you have documented everything that shows how these schools will help. It will help more segments of the population than what we're doing now. But no, they don't want that. They don't want that because, they will be private schools. They're not going to be part of the school system that they can control. So, there's a lot of different gamuts in it than just the kids, the grown-ups' education and their ability to work. This is something that has to do with their kids and generations before them and generations after us. And one of the big segments of population that we are really hurting in, and this comes with Lindsey Graham's immigration deal, is agriculture is still our number two. Tourism and agriculture, 1 and 2. We do not have the workers in South Carolina that we need in agricultural business.
And get creative.
But
without having to import a steady flow of cheap labor. Look, it's the problem.
Well, how do you get it creative? Brian, how do you get creative when you got a large segment of the population that is on welfare and can do nothing, sit at home and make a decent living?
Okay, here's one thing. Here's an example. And this is again something I have secondhand knowledge of. The national predator. There's a point to this. I'm not getting off on a tangent here. That's irrelevant.
That's right.
But I was shocked when I learned the National Predators, the hockey team that made the Stanley Cup Finals, had a huge following there. And I was wondering how that could be because they didn't traditionally have a team there. But what happened was when one of the automakers started opening up plants around Nashville, and when they did, a lot of the workers, because the wages were good and they got a great opportunity, went from working in Detroit to working in Nashville. So maybe part of the solution is, for example, Lindsey Graham is always bitching about, a shortage of qualified labor. Instead of bitching and trying to find people from overseas so that the employers can pay them substandard wages so that nobody ever gets a pay raise and people's inflation-adjusted wages continue to decline, well, maybe what you do is you recruit people from other parts of the country that maybe had a good job, a good education, a good job working in a factory somewhere else in another part of the country, and now they're employed, and you say, you know what, come down here to South Carolina because we're opening up a new automotive plant. And down here, the cost of living is a lot less. The taxes are lower. And would you rather live in Detroit, believe me, Detroit don't have good school systems, and rather have no job or a good job and come down here, and you're going to have the cost of living is going to be less, taxes are going to be less, and your inflation-adjusted wages are going to be more. So, or you recruit people from California. Education system in California ain't great either, and the taxes are ridiculous. The cost of living skyrocketed. So maybe part of the solution is you look at, people that worked up. You look at the other states. that have higher unemployment numbers. You know, every time a factory closes in California or Massachusetts or Michigan or someplace like that, and, you know, in the automotive sector or somebody working in machine tools or high tech, you start recruiting those people the same way that people from the South used to, you know, in the 50s and 60s, say to businesses that didn't like the higher taxes and regulation up north, you say, hey, come down here. We got a favorable climate for investment, less regulation, lower taxes. So maybe start recruiting people, you know, from other parts of the country. Instead of bringing people from overseas and exacerbating the problem, you employ Americans that have lost their jobs and from other parts of the country that aren't doing well at all. I mean, I think you get creative with these things. But, you know, I just think there's no justification for the fact that inflation-adjusted wages for the majority of Americans in the 21st century have declined. And they're going to continue to decline if we continue thinking the way we're thinking and doing the exact same things. You think out of the box. Now, again, I'm not a rocket scientist. I have average intelligence at best, and I came up with that idea in 5 minutes. You're going to tell me a lot of people in the Rust Belt states haven't lost their jobs over the last 15 years, and you can't recruit those people? Yeah, you don't have a great education system in South Carolina. You think the education system in upstate PA has gotten better over the last 15 years?
Well, there's a lot of different angles to it, Brian. But I tell you what, right now, and this just was released in the last couple of days. Right now, one of the Florence District 1, Florence School District number 1. Right now, that board is considering spending $147 million just in this one small district. $147 million for new construction for schools. Okay? Now, this is for schools. These are schools that have kids in them right now, schools that I have been in, schools that look pretty darn good to me, but they want to spend $147 million on new schools. Now, this increase would be primarily, they say, for teacher salaries, staff, health, dental insurance, things like that. Of course they are. But I tell you what, I don't understand why, when you have schools that are in good condition, now you got some of them that need repair. Let's don't say they don't. We know they do, okay? But why do you want to build new schools when those schools that are being occupied right now are perfectly good? Now then, there are 1 or 2 schools in the district, I will tell you, need some work. I mean, one of them may need to be replaced, but not the number that they're talking about, not the ones they're talking about. I pass one of them 4 or 5 times a day. It's 2 blocks from my house. Well, half mile from my house. Folks, you know, it's not the building that teaches kids. It's what goes on inside those buildings that teach the kids. You know, if you want a palace, then your thoughts are different. Your desires are going in the wrong direction. They don't need a palace to learn in. They need a building where they can meet and do the work that they need to do, the studying they can do, the education they can get. We would all love beautiful, beautiful homes, but guess what? Sometimes just having 3 bedrooms in a 1,200 square foot home is better than living on the street. You still have a room to rest and sleep and all that kind of stuff, don't you? Okay, I'm off that wagon. I'm sorry, Brian. I just had to throw that in there.
Well, no, I think it's a good exchange of ideas. I think we see it a little bit differently, but we both more or less want the same thing. But I guess maybe one of the things that I would add to that, Bill, is maybe what you're saying is, I'm not saying your point isn't valid or any less valid, but you're saying the education system, a lack of a good education system makes it a problem. And I guess what I'm saying is, you know, if you have enough good jobs, you'll attract people that'll be making more money.
Oh, yes, yes, most definitely. Most definitely. Like our hospital here, our hospital has some of the best doctors and physicians of all types than anywhere in the world. Why is that? Because we got we got a hospital right here in our hometown that rates in the top 15% in just about everything, and the top 5% in lots of things. And, you know, people come here from all over the country, all over the state, all over the PD region to be treated.
So if they're coming from all over the state, all over the country, all over the region there to the hospital, because it's a first-rate hospital, then, you know, come up with the same idea, for example, for other manufacturing jobs that are coming to the state.
Exactly.
And that's a better way.
Exactly.
And the thing is, but rather than importing an unlimited amount of guest workers overseas, no, again, it's not that hard. You do some research. Okay, you know, gosh, this factory in Detroit just closed. They had 2,000 skilled workers working in the automotive sector. They're out of work. The education system isn't good. Let's try to recruit them. Maybe we can get half of them to come down here.
Yeah.
We don't have a great education system down here either, but we got a lot of other things Detroit doesn't have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I said, or the other states that I had mentioned. And then if you attract a better caliber of worker down there, you know, then what's gonna happen is those workers and their families that are making a better living than the people that are there now, they're gonna get on the school board.
Yeah.
You know, they're gonna get involved in politics.
It's a process. It's a process, and it's not going to happen overnight. But that's exactly right, Brian. You're exactly right. It's not impossible. It's not impossible. It just takes time, and it takes committed people to do it.
And thinking outside the box, but not. And this is why one of the reasons why it's such a big problem with the Lindsey Grahams and Jeff Flakes. Their solution is always that Americans are basically lazy and stupid, and you know what? And that we're unwilling, you know, that either we're unqualified to do, you know, high tech, work in the high tech jobs, or too lazy to work in the grimy manufacturing jobs. But you know, the thing is, there's just no, you know, if what they're saying is true, and they always give you this shortage thing, then wages should continue to rise. And the fact that wages don't rise and that the inflation-adjusted wages have fallen in the 21st century, it tells you that there's an abundance of qualified labor in the various trades and fields. It's common sense. But again, what they ought to be doing, and they did this in Nashville, around Nashville with the automotive jobs. They took people from Detroit. They didn't take people from India. They didn't take people from whatever country. They took people that went out of work in Detroit, and they moved down to that area. And so you had skilled labor. And I'm sure what people in Tennessee said was that first of all, hey, better to have a good job than not have a job at all.
Yeah. Well, Brian, you're absolutely right on these things. I'm not arguing with you on any of that, but you know, even that takes time, and that's the problem there. Time. See, we have wasted so much time. Now, you know, I'm getting angry here. This topic really makes me mad. We have wasted. We have wasted so much time on convincing people our education system is the best. We've let it become the worst. You know, every time I get into this conversation with someone, and Neil, thank you so much. I love what you just said. One of the big issues we don't have skilled workers, skilled laborers. Not everybody has to be doctors. Not everybody has to be nurses. We have a shortage of plumbers. We have a shortage of technicians, automotive technicians. We have a shortage of people in all assets like that. One of the big things I've always been a big supporter of and preached, every goddamn school in town should have a vocational training school. We've done away with them. You know, people can't, you know, not everybody's made to get out of high school and go to college. You know what I mean? A lot of them don't have the type of desire they need to. Not everybody wants to be a doctor. Not everybody wants to be a chemist. Not everybody wants to be a whatever, engineer. You know, some people, you know, my dad, he was a brake and clutch man, transmission. That was his thing. Dropped out of school in the 8th grade. Somebody talked to him and said, hey, look, I'm going to help you learn a trade. He went on and he worked at a company that was called Brake and Clutch. I remember as a kid going up there and looking at the restroom doors, blacks only, whites only. True. And I remember when those doors were changed. My dad was so happy, it was unreal. Anyway, the bottom line was this. He went and got the technical training, the hands-on training, and he ended up, him and 2 other guys in that company, well, one from the company and one that had a store, retail store, a convenience type store with a kind of a snack restaurant thing inside of it. His land was bought. They tore it down, expanded a different building. Bottom line is the 3 of them got together, took a chance, and they opened up their own brake and clutch company. It wasn't too many years later, they hit the big time. They moved downtown Dallas and in the industrial area, got an old building that was 5 times bigger than the little one they were in. Within 5 years, they had 30-some odd employees in that building. And at the time, my dad said that he was going to enjoy the rest of his life, and he retired and sold his interest into the company. It was the largest brake and clutch power booster remanufacturing company in the entire Southwest. My dad lived very comfortable for the rest of his life, and so did a lot of other people. And they had an apprenticeship program there. They had people coming in learning the trade. And they had people that came to work there as they graduated from that. When other people were leaving, they took their place. As they expanded, they had new jobs. And the other ones left and had jobs elsewhere because my dad and his company helped them find jobs. See, folks, that's how you solve the problem. You don't just chunk them aside and forget them. Anyway, all right, Brian, I'm sorry. I got off on.
I think that, you know, I've really come around to, for you and Dave, the idea of trade schools and maybe colleges and for everybody. And I think that's a very important point. I think what I like about the idea is what you're saying is we have these problems. So here's a different idea than what we've already tried. And so I get as angry as you get about the education system. I get as angry about this globalization stuff when the way I see it is we've been trying it for 25 years and the returns are very poor.
Yeah.
So when I hear somebody like Lindsey Graham say that, you know, we need basically unlimited immigration and no cuts to our immigration system, I think, well, we've been doing that for so long now and it doesn't work. How do you justify when something doesn't work, keep doing the same thing? Yeah. And so I think it requires new ideas. That doesn't mean that my ideas are the right ideas or the best ideas. I think they are, but you may not. But what it does require is you have to try something different than when what you're doing doesn't work. And the answer can't always be that, you know, we're going to, you know, make Americans compete against cheap labor from anywhere in the rest of the entire world. I mean, that's not an acceptable option. And you also can't say, well, we got these problems. It's too hard to fix it. So we're going to give up on our native-born population and just bring foreigners in to take the job. Yeah. It's got to be something different than that. And I really believe the idea I had. Well,
Brian, stop right there just for a second. Using your workers that you have, you know, how do you know, okay, we ain't got time to get in this conversation. I'm going to say this till tomorrow. Let me make a note here. Well, and
Bill, you know, again, I think, you know, some of the problems you have now, they're going to take a long time to fix. But I think a short-term fix, again, is anytime a business goes out of business, the politicians in South Carolina and the businesses should be looking to attract those people to South Carolina.
Yes, they should.
Be the solution.
Yes, absolutely.
Also, too, and there are so many benefits that come with it. I mean, where I live, I'm a stone's throw from Merck. And believe me, with all the educated people we have, they're going to make damn sure that their kids, their education system's first rate. They wouldn't allow the education system to not be first rate. They're going to demand certain things. So if you attract a higher quality of worker there, I'm looking at it inversely from the way you're looking at it. You get better workers coming to your state and your town. Believe me, they're going to demand better things in other areas. They're going to be on the school boards. They're going to be breathing down their politicians' necks. They're going to have all kinds of demands, and they're going to have a lot of power. And then they're going to use that power, and then it's going to force the local school boards and the politicians to make changes.
But Brian, that again, it takes time. It takes time.
But everything takes time.
Yeah, it does. It does.
If you want to import cheap labor from overseas, it takes time and effort to do that. Maybe it doesn't cost as much for the employers. But here's the kicker.
Here's the kicker. It may take time, but you don't quit trying while you're making the time. You know?
Well, and sometimes the best ideas require hard work and some time.
The best ideas may require bringing some of these outsiders in to work and build these companies, and as the ones that found it leave, you have jobs for those that are growing up. I mean, that's the way. That's the cycle. That's the cycle.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Brian.
Cheap answer is just to say, well, anytime we have a problem, instead of dealing with lazy, stupid Americans, support people from other countries.
Yeah.
That's the lazy.
There you go. All right. Well, I got one more major issue I've got to cover before we get off air, and we're getting real sharp, Brian. I'm sorry. Here it is. I need help. I need someone to explain to me, because I am getting frustrated as Hades, and I am mad on this topic too, and I need help. How in the world can the Texas Rangers be such good competitors year after year, and every 2 years they're up there, they're near the playoffs, they're playing in the playoffs, or they're playing for the big game, and then the very next year they're 18, 19, 20 games behind? I don't understand that.
Well, baseball's a frustrating game. I mean, if you're a hitter and you hit the ball 3 out of every 10 times, and you fail 7 out of 10, you're considered successful.
Yeah.
It's hard. And look where the Royals were a few years ago. They won a World Series, and now they're also ran.
Yeah, but I mean, this has been like a cycle forever, though. As long as I can remember, the Rangers will be in the playoffs. They'll make it into, they'll go up again in the playoffs, and then the very next year they hit bottom. Then the next year they're back up. Then they're down. Then they're up. Then they're almost up. Then they're down. Then they're up. Then they're down in the cellar like they are right now, 18 games behind. No way to make that up. But anyway, that was another thing I had to rant and rave on to this morning. I can tear that up. God dang it. I love sports. I love the Cowboys. I love the Rangers, but both of them give me ulcers. Brian, thank you for being here this morning, dude. I appreciate you greatly. And I am not kidding. When we do our next trip up toward Pennsylvania area, I want to give you a ring. We're going to have lunch or something. Appreciate you, dude. Appreciate you. All right, folks, listen, Neil in the chat room. Guy, I got to tell you, dude, I appreciate the comments that you put in here every day. You did very good today, and I appreciate that. And everyone else, look, we need your help in here in the Pickle Barrel. Every one of you have opinions. Every one of you have ideas on what we might be able to do to get us out of this pickle barrel. We need your help. So jump in here with us daily, or at least when you can, because we'd love to see you and hear from you here in the Pickle Barrel. Dave, what's coming up next, sir?
Coming up later on today, none other than Kids Corner, Happy Hour with, of course, Candy, which is also Coffee with Candy, same host, and Chuck Skull's Golden Radio, and a whole bunch of other exciting things that happen and take place throughout the day. Don't forget to check out the YouTube channel. More videos will be added there, as all the shows in time will be archived and over there in video format for your watching, viewing, listening pleasure. And you'll be able to download those as well. So follow APR. We're all over. AmericanPatriotRadio.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Boy, who knows where else we're at nowadays.
We're in deep doo-doo sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Instagram, you name it, we're out So go ahead and check us out, growing every day, and we appreciate you. And the best way to do that is, of course, at the main site at American Patriot Radio.
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate you, dude, and all you do for American Patriot Radio and helping me out, too. Folks, we'll see you tomorrow morning right here in the Pickle Barrel. Y'all have a safe day. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us. You've been in the Pickle Barrel with author, speaker, commentator, and show host, Bill Pickle. You are listening to American Patriot Radio.